Hello there, my friends. Thank you for joining me here at Evolutionary Energy Arts once again, guys. How you all doing out there? Oh, dang, I said, how you all doing out there? See, being back in the South, and Florida's not really South, but, you know, back in the Carolinas, that's the South. And actually, I hope you guys are having a good night. It is snowing here. And actually, it's supposed to be damn cold here tonight. We're supposed to have wind chills actually 5 and 10 below zero. So definitely really brisk, to say the least. Good to see all those beautiful names out there, all those smiling faces. I hope you guys are doing well. Peace and love to you all. Lots of stuff going on, tons going on, as we are basically feeding a stray kitty cat right now out here on the porch. She has been coming once or twice a day looking for food, and before I came on, I just went out there to put her food out there, and I heard really what sounded to me to be, it probably was a coyote, but it was like crying, and it was like right in the driveway. Couldn't see it, but it was really nearby. And but it sounded more like a wolf, really. But anyway, yes, the wind chill is going to be 5 to 10 below. So all the animals are going to be looking for shelter out there, and the cows, they were really loud today. 24 up there in Ohio. I'm sure it's cold up there in Maine. 38 Midwestern Ohio. You know, it wasn't supposed to be this cold. Have you guys been noticing that? Like, because I'll look at the 10-day and just make note of what the temperatures are supposed to be. And all of a sudden, it seems like a lot of the times, it'll be a lot colder than what they're saying. So we have a super cold superstorm in Utah. And so good to see all you guys, all you lovely, beautiful people out there. So where do we start, guys? Where do we start? You know, we'll take calls again. Yes, we had no autumn. We don't really have spring. It's kind of like two seasons. And two intense seasons at that. So we'll take calls at 614-400-5835, and we can talk about anything you guys want to talk about. But, you know, there's so much going on. I know a lot of the videos I've been doing lately have had more of the, you know, current events / politics in them, just because it feels like we're building to a crescendo. It really feels... Yes, Robert made a good point. Make a snowball and put it on fire and see if it turns black and doesn't melt. That truly is a thing, and it's because of all the chemtrails. I've seen a couple videos on that. Just makes you wonder how much we're taking in of that stuff in our water supply, and even just breathing. And there's so much going on geopolitically right now, and as I said, it does feel like we're really building to something big, and I'm getting that from everybody out there. Everybody's feeling it. Something very big is coming. You know, obviously we've had so many big earth change events. It's just been one after another, but you could just see you could see how it's going as far as, you know, Russia, Ukraine, that whole incident. Just basically, you know, like I said before, it feels like we're living in the 1930s all over again. Everything's kind of breaking down geopolitically. But you know what? More and more people are getting the big picture. I really... Isaac says he loves the big picture. Yes, and that was part of the whole thing about, you know, what's going on today and what's going on. I mean, now we got, you know, President Trump saying that, you know, perhaps there will be a state-run network. And one of the subscribers brought to my attention the fact that, in China and in India, right, which combined have more than 50% of the world's population, everybody's already numbered. Everybody is already numbered. So you have more than half of the world already completely numbered. That's an eye-opener, Definitely an eye-opener. Hello, caller. Thanks for joining us. Who do we have with us?
My name's Cecil. Hold on, let me turn you off in the background. My name's Cecil. Can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you loud and clear, Cecil. How you doing tonight?
I'm alright, brother.
Well, I'm glad you called.
Yeah, I've been following your channel for a little bit. I called somebody in last night, this channel called Informative Info. And listening you just say how it feels like we're still living in the 1930s kind of made me think about something I was saying to them last night. History repeats itself. And it seems like the Mandela effect is like a small little snippets of that, but do you remember in the 1930s there was that one country in Europe that had that one leader with the funny little mustache, and he always looked like he was waving at everybody all the time?
Oh yeah, most
remember
definitely.
That guy?
Sure do.
Yeah. I can't really name drop because the AIs on YouTube are watching and stuff like that, But I mean, I don't really have a name for them. I just call them evil people. I mean, who they actually really are, it doesn't really matter. They're just fucking evil. And the evil people in the world, once they figure out something works, it's almost like they think that they can repeatedly use the same tactics over and over, and nobody's ever gonna pay attention to it. So there was that guy, and then there was Saddam Hussein, who freaking gassed his people, and then they said Assad gassed his people, right? And now I'm looking at this stuff with the border crossing, and they're like, Trump gassed people. He's a bad man. Are you seeing the pattern?
Yeah, I mean, we could see a lot of different patterns, and history without a doubt repeats itself. It definitely does. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we always learn from what happened in the past and our mistakes, and but then you got to figure that there's forces manipulating things because they want certain outcomes, and war is very profitable for a lot of companies, especially those that make military hardware, and even those that make medical supplies, for instance. There's a lot of money in war, unfortunately. Yeah, military-industrial complex, man. It was one of those presidents that warned us about it. Was that Eisenhower? Yeah, both Eisenhower and Kennedy. They both talked about it, and Kennedy gave a great speech, and 1 week later, he was dead. Yeah. It's kind of funny. General George F. Patton was talking about how we fought against the wrong people, whatnot, and they tried to kill him with a drug overdose, and then when that didn't work, he mysteriously had a car accident. So I'm just telling you, it's like, the point that I'm trying to make is, if these people, we know their profile, when these people don't like somebody, gas. They just talk about, the stuff that's going on over in Syria is some of the most ridiculous lies possible. So, the sheer arrogance of these people. Do they really believe that Assad is winning and he was going to go ahead and drop chlorine gas on his own people? Do they really think that people in the world are so dumb that they would believe that?
Like, it's just amazing. I guess evil people are just, like, not good all the way around.
Yeah, but see, the thing is too, I mean, everybody that's watching here and yourself and myself, we're awake, and unfortunately most people are sound asleep, and that's why a lot of this kind of just blows by them. They just don't notice. And I noticed that when I went to Thanksgiving at my sister's, because unfortunately most of my family is completely asleep, and they view me as the crazy one. I've always been the crazy one. And so, when I was like asked something by my niece and started to get into it, they're just looking at me like, oh God, here goes the crazy talk. But the thing is, they don't look into things. There's so many people out there that just don't do a little fact finding and just check into things, and it's so easy to see what's happening.
It's true. I mean, there's a lot of disinfo out there also, but I feel what you're saying. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that could be explained very easily with not even 10 minutes worth of research in any given direction. As far as the truth goes, or hints of the truth. I don't really believe anything that I watch on mainstream media, but the thing about Trump and his because you were talking about state-run media, or I kind of thought that that's something that was I could see that happening, because he's just fed up. Like, all these broadcast, all these stations get to just say flagrant lies about whoever they want, and there's nobody there to check that. I mean, I would think that you would be able to sue these people for saying some of the stuff that they do, but apparently, we just have a reputation for just turning the other cheek and just trying to ignore it. But that could be dangerous, man. It's like in that movie Easy Rider. Remember the original Easy Rider?
Yes, oh yeah.
I can't remember. I think it was. Anyway, they were saying, ignorant people are dangerous, man, especially when they're grouped together, and the lies start spreading, and was that Dan Aykroyd? No, I can't remember. Anyway, it's really easy to draw the masses into a mass hysteria if you tell them the right lies. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the symbiology behind a lot of these zombie movies, like Resident Evil, which are there's a whole bunch of Masonic and occult symbiology in the Resident Evil movies. I don't know if you've ever watched them or not.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And the powers that be leak things out, like letting us know what they think about us. Do you remember? I mean, there was that zombie alert in Florida last year, and I feel like that was somebody letting us know, and there's so much getting sprayed on our heads all the time, from the chemtrails, and of course our water supply's got it's got fluoride in it to dumb us down. We have the barium and the aluminum and the chemtrails, which are all going to add to the Alzheimer's. It truly is a multi-pronged attack, and when you look at it, all these things are the things the Nazis did too, and so the agenda continues. And I hope I don't get totally off topic, but it's kind of trying to tell a family member that the Nazis didn't really lose the war. Germany did, but not really the Nazis. If you really look at it closely, Operation Paperclip and everything.
Well, I mean, that's a subject of debate. I mean, if you really look at it, because Trump released the JFK papers, I remember that was like late last year, I think. And in those papers, it said that Hitler escaped to Argentina. Like, they found him still alive, in 1955.
Right.
So, yeah, you're right. Germany lost the war pretty hard, and those people are still losing to this day. But I mean, just think of Europe. I mean, just think about the correlation of what's happening over there and what's happening here right now. And just people cannot see the semblance between Europe and this whole border situation with these migrants. And you bring it up to them, and they're like, "That's crazy talk." But no, it's really not. I don't care what name you want to put on them, George Soros or whatever, this or that foundation or whatever. That doesn't really matter, man. You got to look at the machinery of what's taking place. Their methodology, their mechanism. Look at that and try to figure out a way to destroy that. Because if you can knock their hands off, if you can knock the barrels off their guns before they can shoot you, you can defeat them. Until they try to come into it another way. But that's always just going to wake up more and more people. But yeah, you're right, man. There's a lot of stuff in our environment that's dumbing us down. I need to stop drinking out of these plastic water jugs. I need to get some glass stuff to store my water in.
Oh yeah, I mean we all have a ton of plastic in our systems. It's sad, but it's true, and it's just a long, slow poisoning process, and then that's really why we need to be constantly detoxing. It's just the world that we're in right now, unfortunately. Well, I want to thank you for your call. We have a couple other ones that have been calling in, and please do call again, Cecil.
Yeah, no problem, man. How often do you open your phone numbers up?
Pretty much every Tuesday. I went and spent time up for Thanksgiving up north, so missed a week. But otherwise, every Tuesday at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time is going to be the regular call-in. And then some other ones sporadically as, when we have bigger events that unfold.
All right, man. Take care. Be grateful. Have peace with you, brother.
Peace to you too, brother. Thank you. Stay safe.
Yep.
Namaste. So that was a good call to start us off. Lots of things to think about. And, because what I was getting to, too, was the fact about Admiral Byrd and everything going to Antarctica and then coming back with his tail between his legs. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
Hey, this is Jerry.
Yeah, and what would you like to talk about tonight?
Well, I think the subject is really, I don't want to get out of character here, but it's transgender.
Transgender, okay.
Absolutely. I don't think people realize that Melania Trump is transgender. And you may disagree with me on that, but I really want you to research it before you actually attack me on it, because it's actually true. If you research pictures of her in her youth, you'll definitely see an Adam's apple, a brow ridge. I'm a trans investigator, and I'm going to tell you right now, I catch these people, and it really bothers me that a lot of these people are transgender. The vast majority of Hollywood and the vast majority of your government, and they're all transgender.
Well, that's interesting. I never thought about Melania, but I have seen some videos that blew my mind when it came to Michelle Obama, because it looked like it was kind of hard to deny. And I want to thank Robert Culver for his super chat. Thank you so much, Robert. I totally appreciate it.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I've seen the Michelle Obama videos. Absolutely, that's definitely transgender. But you got to understand, this has been going on since Babylon. I don't know how much you follow the biblical factor of this, but I'm telling you, the vast majority is transgender, and you have to be an investigator, a trans investigator, to really recognize. You have to know the anatomy of man and woman. You have to know it closely to really understand what's really going on. Because actually, the Freemasons, the Illuminati, and all these secret societies, a large portion of them, that's their whole purpose, is to reverse the actual physicality of what God gave them. They reverse that, and that is their purpose. But I have actual pictures that of Melania Trump just do a Getty Images search on Melania Trump, and maybe ask for younger pictures. And you know, you have to dig. You can't just pull up pictures and look. You have to really dig and go into the deep pictures of it, and you will definitely see Adam's apple, brow ridge. I mean, it blew me away, and I really don't want to believe it. It's just like it is what it is.
Well, I mean, I tend to think that most presidents are pretty much, they're either actors. Well, Ronald Reagan was, for sure, obviously, we know that, but for the most part, they're figureheads and actors, and I don't think they really get to make a lot of their own decisions. You know, some decisions, yes, perhaps, but, you know, the major big ones, I really don't think they're making the big decisions.
Will you please do one thing for me? Research all the past presidents' wives. Here's the deal: when men take estrogen, it has a subtle effect. It works, but when women take testosterone, it has a profound effect. So when they take testosterone injections or whatever, it can really fool you. Female to male can really fool a person, but male to female is so absolutely profound, you cannot miss it. So please look into all the president's wives, and like the jawline, the brow ridge, the wide set eyes, the big mouth, the ears. It all matters. All that anatomy things matter, so you have to look into that. But what really troubles me about what's going on right now is that I truly believe that Trump was going to be different, things were going to be different, and the movement was different. I really believe that. But now I'm just kind of a little skeptical, and like I'm troubled by it, because I know you know, you got this whole Q thing going on. Man, he's one of them. He's not the savior. Or everybody's looking at Trump as the savior. He's the rebel. He's not a politician. Bullshit. He's been rubbing shoulders and bumping money and everything else to these politicians all this time. He's not innocent.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the big thing for me is, you know, let's look at what's really happening as far as like the military spending, because, you know, it's increased to the highest level ever. You know, just ever.
Usually, when that happens, what do? We go to war, right?
Yeah.
In history, that's always happened. Every time the military budget gets blown out of proportion, it's because something big's going down.
Yeah, and that's what everybody is feeling, and a lot of the channels are kind of going crazy with it too. If you watch, you know, some of them out there.
Well, they blow it out of proportion sometimes, I think, but yeah, there's a lot of good points made. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt it. I think a lot of it are on, and these are ominous times. We could see it, we could feel it, and you know, it's just everybody is really sensing something very big coming shortly.
Well, it's even like the solar system. Things are changing. I mean, I don't know how much you pay attention to the moon and the sun, and there's so many anomalies that are just out there, you know, and I'm not scared. I know where my heart is. I know where I'm right at. It's not a scary feeling. It's just kind of like, yeah, it's scary in the sense that I want to try to, you know, wake people up. Hey, man, you know, something's really going on. You need to be prepared.
You definitely do. And yeah, it's really, the big thing is we need to be set spiritually, you know, and when we are, then we won't have any fear, and we'll react calmer, cooler, you know, if you understand the big picture and you have your heart in the right place and you know who you are.
Absolutely. When you panic or you freak out, that's when you make mistakes and things go wrong. And so, yeah, you're absolutely correct. But, you know, I just feel such I don't know how to explain it. There's a pulse. There's something in the environment, you know, and the more I wake up and look around and start paying attention to things I never paid attention to before in my childhood. I'm 50 years old, but things I never paid attention to that I'm paying attention to now, I'm like, hey, I don't remember it. being like that when I was young. I never really paid attention to it, but I saw it and I knew it. You know what I mean? And it's like you get older and you start paying attention to these things. Like, whoa, something's different.
Yes, most definitely. I just want to read this out to let everybody know what we're talking about. A few days after Tesla, Nikola Tesla, who we're talking about, died on January 8th, 1943. His possessions were seized by officials of the amazingly named Government Office of Alien Property. That's kind of interesting, alien property. About 3 weeks after that, all of Tesla's things and documents were given a thorough examination by a group of FBI agents that included none other than John G. Trump, the uncle of current Republican President Donald J. Trump. So
Tesla was murdered. Tesla had a way of proving to the world free energy. He knew how to do it. He knew how to pull it from the ground, put it in the air, and provide it to everyone. Why wouldn't he be murdered? I mean, think about it. Free energy? No way. They want to burn fossil fuels and everything. Everybody wants to get rich off of the Rockefellers. Everybody wants to get rich, right? So, absolutely, they're going to destroy him, and they did.
They did, and thank you so much for the call, and I hope you will call back again, and thanks for sharing that info. It's, some interesting stuff for sure, and again, it's part of that bigger picture, the fact that, so much of everything is an illusion, and that's really the main thing. It's an illusion. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
This is Charles. Hi.
Hi, Charles. What would you like to talk about?
I just wanted to say that the caller talking about the transgender agenda is very much telling the truth.
So you also agree?
Yes, I've been looking at transvestigations for some time myself, on and off for a few years. The things about the first ladies are absolutely true. I hate to say the first trannies, but it is the truth. It's not just Michelle Obama, like he said. It's very obvious with the female to male. I mean, not with female to male, the male to female, forgive me. It is, the more you look at the male to females, it becomes so blatantly obvious that, it's just hard to ignore. But he's very much correct about the forehead, and men almost always have a sloping back forehead. Women almost always have a more vertical forehead, and if it does slope, it's very, very gradual. And you can even look, if you go on YouTube, at different videos of hormone therapy and people's voices, and you can hear how, people that are open transgenders, how after so many months of taking hormone replacement therapy, their voice will actually change and sound like the opposite gender, and how convincing it is. So when we're talking about people that have been transgendering since since before puberty, when it's a generational thing, it becomes very, very hard to detect for people. And it is like a spell that people are under, and once they wake up to it, the effect is so profound. It shatters so much of the mind control, because it's not just what they're doing with the Baphomet agenda, but they're also getting women to not love their own bodies. Women are more, they're trying to chase after this image that they can never attain to or never achieve, because the female body always has curves, and the transgender people they put on People magazine are always very skinny and straight, and like all the movie stars, or all the people like Paris Hilton. And if women, for instance, could just wake up to that alone, they could learn to more appreciate their bodies. But of course, the agenda is much greater than that, and the agenda is an anti-human agenda, and to basically engineer humans in laboratories, like in the book Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. But it's very much just an evil Baphomet worship agenda, and it's so obvious once you see it, brother. I hope you do. Sorry for the rant.
No, it's fine. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's all part of that big psyop, and it's a huge psyop. And just how huge it actually is. This last couple of months has got me almost questioning everything. Even down to looking and seeing what we're seeing in the sky. As far as, okay, now is this a sun simulator? Is this really the sun? What is it? What's up with the moon? I watched the moon kind of get blank, and I had somebody with me, and we both were looking at it, and I was like, did you see that? It just went blank. Where'd all the craters go? And then it kind of morphed back into, having craters again, but it was in a different position, and it's like, okay, either they're sending out some waves with the 5G that are scrambling our receptors, or there's something weird going on.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I've been noticing how just odd the moon looks, and I haven't really been out to gaze at the stars or to look at the moon at night, but I believe you. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if that is 5G, but they're definitely doing something with announcing that China has the sun simulator and announcing that China has the moon, the artificial moon. It definitely seems like they're trying to hide what's actually going on in the sky, and I think that maybe that leads into the predictive programming for the 2019 blackouts, as we see on the cover of the Economist magazine, that maybe it goes deeper than just like an EMP or a coronal mass ejection or something like that. That maybe it would actually be that maybe the sun simulators would go out and we would see how dark the sun really is, and that would have that we would actually see the solar minimum, and that would send a lot of people into panic. Yeah, I mean, I totally believe you, and that's bizarre. I wish we could get more things like that on video for people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've known about Project Bluebeam for 20 years now, and I kind of got to think that it's almost like counter-programming, getting us to think that something is going to be fake when there might actually be some real things as well. It could be used both ways, because there's those of us that we think we're awake anyway, because we've studied all this for years, and so we feel like we're kind of prepared for anything. But when you think about it, and to go back to some of the biblical things, it's like everything in the Bible could easily be done now with technology. It's just so. It wouldn't be hard at all to do kind of any of those things. And then you wonder, has that technology been there in the past? And I've been trying to catch up because I was away for Thanksgiving. And so a lot of you guys out there, I haven't gotten back to you or used your photos yet, so I just wanted to say thanks for your patience. But there's a couple of videos I've been dying to make, and one of them is going to touch on the fact that there's evidence of chemtrailing back in the Middle Ages and the Dark Ages, and it even goes back farther than that. So it makes you wonder what really is going on here, and whether it's ET, extraterrestrials like the Anunnaki that we've heard, or whether it's maybe leftovers of Atlantis or Lemuria or some other civilizations, but just humans that have held on to that high tech. Hard to say, but there is definitely a lot of deception out there. That's for sure.
Wow, absolutely. Well, I totally agree with you, and I love that. That's extremely thought-provoking, and I certainly agree. We have so much evidence of things like ancient aliens and cave paintings and some very bizarre art from even the Renaissance era that would suggest would corroborate what you're saying. So yeah, I definitely want to look into that more, and I just thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and that's all really I have to share. So yeah, for what it's worth, may God bless you, or Yahweh bless you, or whoever it is, and just may all peace be with you.
And you also, brother. Thank you so much for sharing. It was a great call.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Bye-bye.
So yeah, lots of interesting stuff for sure, and yeah, there's so much to talk about, so much to share, and there's a lot of topic videos that I want to get done. There's just been so much happening in the world. My thought usually is make one regular one and then make one on a topic. But I don't get to it. Hello, my brother. How are you tonight?
Hello, dear brother. I'm doing phenomenal. How about yourself?
Doing good. Doing good. So, and I got to catch up. I did not get through everything that you sent me, just so you know. But I know there's a ton to talk about. But what's first and foremost on your mind tonight?
First and foremost on my mind, I want to start off by saying hi to everybody else, and I want to send them out. I'm going to take a quick second to whoever closes their eyes. I'm going to send you guys some a violet healing light. So if we can take a few seconds, take a deep breath in through your nose as you're closing your eyes. Hold that deep breath for a split second. You can do it again and again if you want to. And then release it nice and slowly out your mouth. And just remember while you're doing this, keep doing this for a few seconds, that we detoxify 70% of toxins through breathing alone. So that's my gift to you to start off with. And I want to start off with a quote from Carl Sagan. Okay, it starts off with saying, when our illusions about ourselves are challenged, some of us may tend to fly into murderous rage. I've seen it firsthand. You know, on both ends, it's awful. It's an awful thing how people allow their egos, their unconditioned, lower egos, because we have two egos. We have a lower ego and a higher ego. The lower ego is the one that instinct. That's in the gut. That's the lower chakras from from solar plexus on down. And the higher ego is once you live out of the heart space. That's when you're living technically in and out, 1 foot on third or fifth, depending on where you're at now. Well, everybody listening, you're in fifth dimension, believe it or not. Okay, put it that way. You put it in your mind. We're there, but what do you call it? And the other foot on fourth dimension. Fourth dimension is not time, like some scientists don't understand it to be. For one, almost all scientists will agree that time is in all dimensions, no matter how many we can possibly perceive. Most of us only know about 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 dimensions. Time cannot be the fourth dimension if time is in all dimensions. Therefore, time is the first dimension. After fourth dimension, that's after time is beyond time and space. So you can choose to use time to your advantage, okay, but you will not get affected. That's why in the Bible you hear about people living more than 200 years. Moses was 867 or something like that. It's very possible, people. Very, very possible. That's why they keep poisoning us in so many different ways. So, with this in mind, I also want to go more towards the natural things that are happening that we have control over. For instance, the number one thing we have control over right now, I know this may sound far-fetched, way out of this world, no pun intended, you'll hear what I mean right now. The moon truly does have an effect in our way of being. Okay, it does have a magnetic pull on us. Okay, again, going back to scientists, I don't think I'm better than nothing. I hope I don't sound arrogant to some of you, but you guys can look these things up. I don't say things, and if I think they're theories, I specifically mention them. I don't know, so I believe that belief is weak, just like hope is weak. Faith is stronger than hope. Okay, knowing is stronger than belief. Anyhow, with this in mind, sorry, I'm getting the download. Okay, so with this in mind, the dimensions. Scientists. You guys mentioned Tesla a little while ago. Okay.
Yes.
You guys can look this up. I don't just state things out of my arse. Okay. I didn't say the bad word. Not just kidding. But even Tesla has stated it. Okay. People don't know this, that the moon technically is always facing us in one way. It does tilt. It shouldn't tilt the way it tilts as much as it tilts in a 20-some hour period. Okay, you should take almost a month to tilt the way it does in a 20-some hour period. That is very, very odd. But the thing is people don't know that one face of the moon is always facing us. That's why they dubbed the dark side of the moon for a reason. They had to label it because there's always a dark side of the moon because there's one side facing us. The only way that can happen is, and again, scientists don't know this. Tesla knew this, and he has it all written on all kinds of notes and books, that the reason why the moon always faces us is because its actual pole, its actual center of gravity is the Earth's center of gravity, is the Earth's pole. So if the Earth's pole are shifting, and please understand this, believe this, my brothers and sisters, it really is shifting at an alarming, drastic rate. If that's shifting, that means the moon must be shifting as well, some way, shape, or form. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, in case you guys didn't know, there's biorhythms. Please, if anything, waste your time in that. Don't waste your time in the mainstream. Okay, I'm sorry to put it this way, Michael, but we got Michael for that. He has a good filtering system. He can get away with these things, okay? All of you other folks don't have the proper training and time for all matters, you know? Because you guys have children and work to worry about and all this. No, the only thing you should worry about is get the Kabbalion, K-Y-B-A-L-I-O-N, and then you will understand how to use, the best way I can put it is mathematics in a verbal way, in a thought way, in an intent way, and understand the true universal laws through esoteric knowledge. Okay, again, the Kabbalion. The ears of understand, the lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding. And with this in mind, with the moon in theory, so two little facts I want to point out that still is not mainstream. They hide this from us. Okay, that we need to know about the moon. The Earth is really a double planet. Our moon is much too large in relation to the Earth to be considered just a moon. We now know the formation of a double planet like ours is remarkably unlikely. We also know the moon has had a profound impact on the evolution of life. And with that in mind, without the moon, Earth's axis would shift wildly and vice versa, continually wiping out life and preventing it from attaining complexity. Biorhythms, in case you don't understand where that's coming from, biorhythms, rhythms. There is a universal law of rhythms. Again, cycles, repetition. Hitler keeps coming up in everybody's mind. Why? Because repetition. We need to use repetition. Do what he did, but polarize it. Use it for the opposite. Use it for the light. Repetition. And without its tidal effects on the oceans, life would not have had the help it needed 380 million years ago to emerge from the seas, taking the first steps onto land. Evolution. What are we listening to? Evolutionary energy arts, my family.
Yeah, and you know, I find it fascinating that there are indigenous people that have legends about the time before the moon was here, and that really makes you wonder. Now, is it just one of those stories? Like the two wolves, and which one do you feed, or is it some sort of remembrance of a time when literally the moon wasn't here, and we get caught up in, there's so many people that even think, we know our timelines are probably off. We know that what they have been telling us is probably not real, not, correct. There's been so many cover-ups with the Smithsonian and, on down the line. And, there is some thought that even like Venus coming in, like Velikovsky talked about, was not that long ago, and then even thoughts now, I'm seeing many people talking about, how they're not actually even believing the thoughts about how the planets are in orbit encircling the sun, and perhaps, there are more quote-unquote wandering planets that we know about. And, as you were talking about binary, the thought that we are in a binary or maybe even a trinary system. So maybe, the Earth is, I should say the sun, our sun, is actually in a binary or a trinary system with series A and B. Trinary, I would suppose. So then how much do things actually change from what we have seen and observed, and then how do we even trust? Because how many people tell me every day, why are you, don't quote NASA, because never a straight answer. Well, who's observing all this? Who has the telescopes? Well, we know the Vatican has a great telescope, but again, do we trust the Vatican as well? So just the data that we get from all sources, how do we even trust any of it when you get down to it?
Exactly. That's why I don't. That's why I go ahead. Sorry.
And you go within, and that's what we always talk about is finding out for yourself by going within.
Yes, and so that's where the higher self, the higher ego comes in. So once you're done, in a sense, growing up in life, that can happen within 17 years, that can happen within 35 years, it can happen within 67 years of your lifetime. But once you grow up, you start to function out of the service of the heart, which means what? The ego is forced. So the lower ego, the energetic gut organism, ego, the lower ego, the ego that is infamously known everywhere. Okay, once that gets, once you grow up and you've actually filtered. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. You filtered through all emotions. And in case you guys didn't know, there's 360 emotions. The Egyptians mapped it out ever so clearly. That's why the Dalai Lama was so big on making a map of emotions so that we can understand it, because that's how we have true spiritual alchemy. And please don't be afraid of those words. Obviously not spiritual, but alchemy. Some of you are like, oh my God, like just like my channel is sorcery, source.r.e, the source of real enlightenment. And in case you didn't know, sorcery, right, they made that to look even bad. And yes, there were some bad wizards, but sorcery are those that were sorcerers that use the energy of source. What is source? It's God. Okay, it was used to create to convert darkness to light, but it was misconstrued just like everything else has been misconstrued almost literally backwards. Some of you might never heard of Hesiod. Hesiod is a Greek philosopher. Mm-hmm. He's quoted by saying, so the people will pay the penalty for their king's presumption, who, by devising evil, turn justice from her path with torturous speech. Does that sound familiar? Torturous speech. So, a repetition. Who we're talking about? Hitler. A few people already mentioned it on this call already. Keep this in mind, guys. Look this up, please. The Night of the Long Nights.
Oh, yeah.
June 1934, Hitler ordered the SA to go on leave for the entire month. Go ahead. Go, leave. Have some fun. Hitler then ordered Himmler and Göring to eliminate the threat posed by the leaders of the SA. Well, they were weak and having fun, whatever. There's no threat. On 30 June, Himmler's SS and Göring special police arrested and executed the leaders of the SA and other people against whom Hitler had a score to settle. I mean, there's so many similarities happening in metaphoric terms. Okay, cycles. History does repeat itself.
It most definitely does, without a doubt. We could see it. And I want to thank you, as always, my brother, for the call and sharing with us.
Most definitely. Eventually, I want to share with you guys an activation guided meditation, but it'll be for some other time because it takes a while for that. But once you record it, and people can just go to sleep with it, and trust me, like it'll help you go to sleep, and you'll wake up rebooted. I promise you. I've been studying this for many, many years. But anyhow, have a great night, all of you. Say hi to Lisa for me, hi to Zeke, and have a good night, y'all.
Good night, my brother. Take care. Namaste.
Namaste.
So that was Netsaya, and most of you probably know Netsaya. He's a regular. on the channel, and he's a very interesting guy. Brought up a lot of good, interesting points as well, and some great comments out there as well. You know, there are many cultures that remember when the moon wasn't there, and you think about the size of the moon. Then, of course, we got, you know, all the Sumerian tales, which, you know, I've been going over again, and, you know, how Tiamat was destroyed. And then I remember giving time to listen to a flat earther talk about his theory that, you know, we're on a flat earth, and it's a piece of Tiamat that's basically enclosed, and so we're living on a flat earth, quote unquote, that is actually a piece of Tiamat, and that the moon was one of Tiamat's moons and was brought into this orbit. And you know, it's interesting, you know, and I'll listen to everything, and again, you got to discern for yourself, and that's the big thing. And some people don't like to hear stuff. They're like, I don't want to hear any more about this, or I don't want to hear any more about that. But you know, if we just block some things out, we might be missing something. But you know, still, it's up to each to discern. And I truly do think that if you spend more time in, say, meditation, you just get these knowings, and it's knowing. It's kind of different. It's really different from logically thinking about something with your left brain and totally analyzing. At least for me, a lot of times what happens is there's just these pictures that start rolling in my mind, and I feel like I'm having a revelation. And sometimes it could also be just words coming to me, as if somebody was just whispering in my ear, you know, and you just know things, as opposed to, you know, put together a theory in your mind. So I see T. Taylor's out there, and I definitely want to get together again with the ladies, T. Taylor and Fifth World, have another discussion. It was great. I loved it, thought it was a great show, and there's a lot more that we could talk about along the lines of Ascension. And I know I haven't been doing Ascension justice, because I've had some people say, have you ever heard of Ascension? And yeah, early on I made like 3 or 4 videos about it, and maybe the first 50 videos I did. And now I'm up over 900 videos, so it's rapidly growing. And you know, I got to get back to some of the topics that I truly am dying to talk to you guys about. And you know, it's just that it's been so busy with everything going on in the world, all these changes and events, that I don't want to neglect to cover anything, because you just never know when something might hit somebody and it could have a profound effect on them, might actually end up saving their life. You know, I mean, when we are reaching people that don't have a clue about the earth changes because they haven't actually lived any of them themselves, sometimes they're just, you know, they're just kind of like walking in the dark, and they don't realize that there's a cliff over there. You might want to be a little cautious. Or, you know, there's black ice on the ground, so just keep that in mind. And thank you, T. Taylor, and thank you, Fifth World, as well, talking about the past videos. And Fifth World, yeah, I appreciate it, and it's my honor to help you in that. And yeah, she shared that's the first time she read about the Hopi was one of the earlier videos. And I forget, there's so much I still have been planning on sharing, and I'm going to get out more videos on just topics that I think are really things that need to be covered. Hello, caller, and who do we have with us now?
Cool, yeah.
I didn't recognize that language. But anyway, if it was pre-Tower of Babel, perhaps I could have understood that. And speaking of that, how many of you guys out there think the Tower of Babel was referring to basically when we had more psychic abilities? And thank you guys for your support and your love too. This is a beautiful family that's growing. And actually, I should give thanks right now. Thank you guys for getting us over 40,000 subscribers. So we are over 40,000 subscribers in just a little past a year's time. And honestly, I wouldn't have thought it would have grown that fast. So thank you guys so much for all your support. Hello, you're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
Hello?
Hi. You're on?
Hi, am I not on the air?
Yes, you're on the air. Who do we have with us?
Oh my goodness. Pardon?
What's your name, caller?
Gracie Summer.
Hi, Gracie.
Well, have fun. Well, have fun. I love this, that you do this.
Well, I'm glad you're calling in and joining us. Yes, usually I'll do this pretty much once a week, sometimes more. But just with the holiday, I missed a week. But yeah, I like to get people to be able to say what they want to say and share, and it helps the family grow together.
Yeah, I think it's really a good idea. I just got home and turned this on and saw that you were live. I didn't think I'd get through.
Well, you had good timing.
Yeah. I don't think I have great wisdom to share with you tonight. I'd rather have you share too with what I say. And I have a feeling that people out there, where the veil is getting thinner, and everybody's right. What do you think about that?
No, I think the veil is getting thinner, without a doubt. And you know what's fascinating is I'm finding that some of my friends that are very, very psychically gifted and intuitive, the stuff that they are taking photos of is just mind-blowing. And
Yeah.
I do think everybody is getting more sensitive. Everybody's psychic abilities are increasing, and that's also really the big reason. I think that's probably the biggest reason why they're doing the chemtrails, is to keep us from having that.
Yeah.
And so one of
I
my
do too. Yeah.
one of my friends made a comment, and it just hit me, because she was talking about a politician, and she said, I would not trust anybody with a muddy brown aura like that. And that's a powerful statement, because if you could see what somebody's aura is, you could read their true feelings, thoughts, and who they really are. So there's no hiding, and that's part of this.
No, there is no hiding. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, then you really know. You really do know when you can see someone's aura. Wow. Yeah. So, anyway, that's the thing I wanted to share. Is I think so many people are having experiences and people are disagreeing with each other. But, I think the veil is getting thinner, and, we're getting closer to the astral plane. I really do think that. And it's easier for things to manifest that way. It's easier for you to bring about what you're thinking of or what you're feeling.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have recognized too, and I should just ask everybody out there, have you noticed that your dreams are different? There's a different quality to your dreams.
Absolutely. I live in an area where they do chemtrail a lot. I live in an agricultural area where they do haying. They do some pesticides. I actually started taking spirulina just because I understand your pineal gland gets calcified. I think it's working.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely.
I think it is. My dreams are becoming more vivid again, because I've been studying dreams for over 30 years now. And I reached a point where I wasn't dreaming anymore. I couldn't figure it out. I think it's all the chemtrails. I think there's something in the water around here. Our agricultural areas, I think, are just toxic dumps.
Unfortunately, yeah, they've been making them that way for sure. And another thing too that I would share with you guys is, the thing I have found that most opens up the chakras is mantras. And you don't even have to say any of the old Vedic mantras. You could just vibrate the vowel sounds and just
Absolutely.
Yeah, that will open them up so much.
You can come up with your own sounds that are very sacred. Oh wow, I'm so glad you said that. Yeah.
Most definitely, and it's to the point where when I go meditate and I'm doing those mantras, a lot of times when I first get up, I have to go and sit down because I'm just so wide open. There's just so much energy flowing in through the crown chakra that it really is almost like you're kind of stoned, honestly. And
Yeah.
you have that just wide open rush of energy through the crown chakra. It's so intense. So when your pineal gland gets fully open, it's just an amazing feeling.
Yeah, it's worth the time, isn't it?
Oh yeah, most definitely, most definitely.
It really is worth the time. It changes the reality out here, and that's what it's about, is changing reality out here too. Not just on the inner, but having it out here.
Most definitely, most definitely. And another one that could help is, I have a video I made over a year ago. One of my first videos. It was on something called the mystic marriage. So if you go into like the QiGong and meditation videos, there's one entitled the mystic marriage, and that basically it opens up the top 3 chakras. So if you really want to tune in, to the other side and hone your intuition, that one will really do wonders.
I'll have to look at that. Okay. Yeah. I do want to, something's been coming at me all day, experience I had, and I just was talking to a friend about that, because that's part of opening up these chakras is greater awareness, is it not?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah. About 2 years ago, I sun-gazed every day for about a year. I never did see anything by the sun, by the way. I do live in the Northwest, though, so I don't, maybe that's coming out from the South. I don't know. I always looked, and I never saw anything. Anyway, I had read that people had different experiences. I had experiences, but I could always tell that they were on the inner. They were not out here. Even beings on the inner standing by me while I sun-gazed. It was really very beautiful. One night while I was laying in bed, I saw this little light. Now, this was very physical. It came through my wall, and it was just like a little orb. It was a tail behind it. It was just passing through. And I thought, oh, well, I am having these experiences I hear these sun-gazers are having. What I didn't realize, and I didn't realize for a year, is my neighbor died. And I know that was her soul. I saw an ambulance over there that I didn't realize she had died. And it wasn't that I was so much having an experience by sun-gazing. I saw her soul. And I don't know if anyone can relate to this. I just know that that's what we are. That's our true form. Everything else here, something, other people are wise, or they're better than them, or they know more than them. We're all equal. We're just little orbs having experiences here. And that experience, that's what I got out of that experience. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I agree with you totally. And just out of curiosity, was it a blue-gray orb? What color was it?
No, it was white.
Pure white, okay. Yeah, I totally agree with you. If you know, trying to think of her name again, Barbara Brennan. Do you know Barbara Brennan? She's a light worker and an energy healer. She's also a very, very gifted psychic, and she could see layers of the aura that most people can't get to, like going out like 13, 14 layers. And she, was saying so clearly that at our core, we're just like the stars. That's really what we are. We're just not as big as the stars that we see. But when you think about it, it's really been striking me this past year, especially how, in some ways, it's a full circle. We used to think that the Greeks and the Romans and all these ancient people that viewed the planets and the sun as divine beings were just crazy. That the sun is just a ball of gas, and that the planets are just rocks and minerals and et cetera, et cetera. But on a different level, they are all conscious beings. Everything is a conscious being. When you get down to it, everything has consciousness. Consciousness is all that there really is.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I love that you say that, because I think that's all we are. We're light, we're sound, a frequency, a vibration, which is light and sound together. And we're consciousness. That's what we are. That, I sometimes think, we were created in God's image. I think it's that light. It's that little orb. That's what that is. Because our animals are souls too.
Exactly.
all of life is a soul. That's what I have discovered. I guess that's what I wanted to share, because I'm seeing my neighbor's soul pass through. I never got to know her. I live in a rural area where it's kind of like when you get two magnets together and the same ends, and they kind of move away from each other. That's where I'm at here. It's kind of strange, but I found that I kind of observe and see everyone I encounter here as that little light. And I can't tell you how much that helps me.
Most definitely. Yeah, so when you get down to that, then there's really, there's no reason to be afraid. We want to do our best always to make the world better for everybody, and so people can evolve spiritually as much as possible, and just simply enjoy being with each other in this way, in this more dense environment that we're in. And so that's the bigger picture.
Having that realization, how much that has helped me, because no matter if I'm talking to an evangelical Christian here, which we have a lot of, I can see them as this little light, and it's transformed how I interact with them and relate to them. I had a problem before. I don't anymore.
Right. Yeah, exactly. When I first started to meditate on a daily basis, all of a sudden I was seeing orbs everywhere I went, and just every night.
Wow.
I like to meditate at dusk, and sometimes at dawn too, but I'm not as good with getting up in time for dawn because I tend to stay up a little bit late. But I love to meditate at dusk, and every night I would just be out there meditating. I open my eyes up and I would see, orbs going from treetop to treetop, just, flying everywhere. And, it all started to happen when I was meditating on a daily basis. And back then I was meditating 3 times a day for a while.
Yeah, you were really getting on the inner more so then.
Yeah, exactly. And I had some amazing visits too, which I've shared in past videos, including one orb that was just brilliantly golden, and I know it was angelic. And then I was sleeping like a couple nights after seeing that one. That one, basically, it was right over my bed. I just felt like something was watching me, and I opened my eyes and it was right there about 18 inches over my head, and I closed my eyes, opened them up, and it was still there, and it was just watching me, and it felt like just a big eye, kind of. It didn't feel bad at all. It felt kind of awe-inspiring, really, and then it just went, out of my bedroom, down the hall, and out the side of the house. And it was an amazing experience, and I knew it was kind of angelic.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I guess that's kind of what I wanted to share tonight, that, we're all just, what we are, our bodies are what Mother Earth makes for us. It's the life that we are. It's very important, regardless of where a person is mentally, emotionally. There's still this beautiful light, every single one of us.
Even those that are trying to throw darkness, there still is light within. And, it's like our Gordon McWhorter here, our brother Gordon, like he'll always say, even we got to still even love them, even though they're doing, perhaps what we would view as darker deeds, by trying to keep us from realizing who we really are. Again, they're just misinformed, and they're just, they're not acknowledging who they truly are at the core.
No. And this is dance here. I think sometimes we can get confused with the mission. Maybe I do believe in nation. That with confirmation of those individuals actually existing. We choose on our mission. I mean, it's people from here. No, I don't think it's supposed to be. It's easy when we pass and we go back up into the heavens. That's easy. That's the summer land. That's the summer break. It's when we come here and we have these challenges that I think we grow the most.
Yes, I totally agree. You know, we come here basically to learn and to progress and to share. Because, you know, many of us come here and it's all about just helping others, like giving a hand to each other and try to help it pull each other up. So, you know, we could all progress together.
Absolutely. And, you know, I have also, when I was a young girl, I had a couple dreams, and we don't always bring me to this planet. You know? Some of us wander around. Some of us come in with specific missions that may seem like they're nothing but karma, but we've come to help. And I think there's probably a lot of people, probably with them, a lot of people who listen to you are probably some of those people. We actually came to help.
Most definitely.
Because the karma here has gotten so thick that it needs to be broken up.
Exactly. And, you know, years and years ago, I remember reading about 1,000 points of light incarnating across the globe to try to usher in a new era. And right away, it's like it just rung with me, and it's like, yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do. Yeah, I know, you know, that's what I'm here for. It's all about trying to help people transition, you know, into what's going to be more of a golden age, you know, where we're going to transition towards a more of a unity consciousness, and we're going to start to escape the duality even on the denser planes.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I think if that doesn't occur, I think that this age, and maybe this age is over anyway, I don't know. If it doesn't occur, the age will definitely be over.
Well, caller, thank you so much for calling in and sharing. And Gracie, I hope you will call in again.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Take care. Namaste. And so that was Gracie, her first call in. That was a great call. Lots of good points. And, you know, that's the bottom line. And not everybody has had these experiences where they understand the bigger picture, and it's really understand the bigger picture. And again, that comes from that knowing, and the place to get that knowing is really kind of going within. Definitely read and learn, and, you know, read things that are going to help you grow, but then really ponder and meditate on it and see the understanding that comes to you. So that was a really good call, and a lot of good points there, and it seems like it resonated with a lot of you guys in the chat room. And man, I love you guys. You guys are so beautiful. You know, there's so much love in the chat room, and I wish I could just reach out and give all you guys a big old hug with just watching all this love out there and this awareness. And it's all about pulling each other up and helping each other, because that's what we're here to do. And so many of us, you know, we came here for this reason, totally for this reason, and we know it, we recognize it. And so it's like game on. It's completely game on right now, and so many people know that. You know, we're in the thick of it, and it's beautiful. And so, you know, one thing I'm going to do as far as the callers, just to alleviate those calls where people like will call up sometimes and just say crazy things, is anybody that has their number blocked, I won't answer anymore. I've noticed that some of the other people that take the live calls, they do that. And so I think it is a good idea to help alleviate some of those crank calls that we get and keep in a positive direction. And truly amazing times. But you know what? You guys are amazing people. So you're up for it. You're ready for it. And as my buddy Peter is saying, old souls unite. Yes. You know, there's some of us indigos out there, and the new generation coming in is going to be just so, a lot of them are going to be so mind-blowingly wise and they're going to be ready to start initiating in the golden age. We still have a little bit to go through, as we would call the birth pangs and all. We still have that to go through, but we're up for it, and we'll pull together and we'll make the best of it, and also looking forward to what's coming. Yes, as Patrick says, only love can conquer hate. And as I've said so many times too, that the sermon that impacted me the most was one that was talking about the opposite of love is fear. And fear is how we are, how they are trying to control us. It's through fear. So we watch the earth changes, and we're not going to be, so careless as to stay in a potentially disastrous location or a situation. We're just going to be aware, because if we're here to help change things, and I think you guys in the chat room, you're here to change things. This is part of your mission. This is why you're here. And so you're needed. You're simply needed. We need you guys. You're here to basically spread hope and love and light. And Peter says JFK is still here. Some think he's Q, or is that JFK Jr.? And Joshua, welcome. We're glad that you're here. And sometimes it does take a long time to find the right people that you totally vibrate and resonate with. And you guys know that basically I left Florida and I'm in the mountains of North Carolina now. And there's just amazing people here. And there's amazing people in Florida too, because I love people I love there too. But you'll find that we're going to get drawn together, because we're going to start living kind of in the old ways, made anew. As again, things spiral. So we're on a spiral. You can see it as a circle, but if you look at that circle from the side, you'll recognize it's a spiral. So we do go through the same sort of things again and again, but yet, in a slightly different way. And namaste and thank you. There's definitely amazing people here. And love all your guys' energies. Amazing teachers out there. We're so blessed. And we have to get some more of you guys together. And I would love to see some of the regulars too. Perhaps come on and talk to me in a little bit more depth in a show. Because there's a lot of you guys out there that I know have a ton to share. And I'd love to hear it. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
Hello, this is Michael. I talked to you a little bit earlier, so you probably know what I was going to talk about.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's good to hear you, Michael, and please go right ahead.
Do you remember the Day After Tomorrow movie I was talking about? That it could possibly be a warning for what might happen?
Most definitely.
On the possible ice age.
Most definitely, yeah. That movie's been in my head. It's been brought up pretty much every day lately.
It's an amazing movie, but it kind of strikes a little bit of a fear in me, because I don't know why I should be scared, but...
Well, I mean, it's pretty, it's a pretty intense movie, and, if you saw the picture on one of my videos today, it was of 4 water spouts at one time, and that really kind of reminded me of the tornadoes in Day After Tomorrow, and, the way the weather is going, too.
Yeah,
what was I gonna say? And 2012 movie, possibly. But that's what I was gonna say. Wait a minute. That I think just because there's so much evidence in the day after tomorrow that goes with some of the evidence that the scientists have shown today. I know I'm not supposed to trust them, but have you heard of mammoth, right?
Oh yeah.
And that shows the in the first little bit in the first part of the movie where the kid goes to New York and they go to that museum.
Yeah, I do remember.
So that's why I kind of think it's a little bit of a warning.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It feels like everything has to be disclosed to us in one way, shape, or form. And you look at, it's either that or there's just basically these filmmakers are tapping into the collective consciousness to a high degree, but it still feels like disclosure to me. And, everything from the Truman Show. I mean, in The Matrix, it's crazy that Neo's passport expires on 9/11/2001. I mean, that's crazy, but it's real. It's right there. The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Did you see all the predictive programming from The Simpsons? Even President Trump. It's incredible.
Yeah. There was something else I was going to touch on, but I forget what it was. Oh, the 5G. But I forget what I was going to touch on that about. I've been watching your channel for quite a while now. I've been really enjoying your videos.
Oh, I'm glad. And I try to give an assortment and basically to, bring up all the different things that are happening around us. Without a doubt, you could pick up stuff in movies, and sometimes, it's blatantly obvious. Other times, there's subtle things that are hidden in there.
Yeah, that's what I like about movies. Is sometimes they can tell a story, but sometimes you can see some of the disclosure.
Yeah, definitely, and it seems like it's quickening as well. I'm watching. Movies here and there, and like the one, How It Ends, where they're doing the tsunami bombs, that's pretty up to date. Somebody's on their conspiracy sites, somebody's keeping up with things when you have that type of situation, but at the same time, think about it. That would make perfect sense because, you would have the government wondering, was that natural or was that an attack? And that's kind of the perfect attack when you think about it.
Yeah, and I fear about one of these days there's going to be an asteroid that comes in and they're going to mistake it for a nuclear attack. I mean, that's my fear.
And we had that asteroid now that we were talking about on one of the videos today too. And
yeah, I saw that. I didn't watch it completely because our internet was kind of going up and down.
Yeah.
Also, I've been noticing here in Michigan, the temperatures have just been going up and down, rain and snow, rain and snow. It's like, can the weather make up its mind here?
Oh, it's been crazy, and like I was sharing it, I didn't see where it was supposed to be this cold, and our actual temp's going to be down in the teens, and the wind chill is going to be 5 to 10 below, and that's pretty cold for here.
Well, it's not going to be too bad here. It's going to be, the low is 22, but it's 26 right now, so, in our area.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a lot that's shared with us in movies, and if you guys ever, I don't know if anybody out there ever watches Gaia TV, they had a series on false flags that was really good with, I think his name was Richard Dolan, who hosted it, but that was a great series, because there's so many false flags that are out there, and sometimes things get telegraphed to us if we're really awake and watching,
Yeah. I've never seen that TV show, so I'm going to probably see if I can find it and check it out.
Yes. Yes, definitely. Well, thank you so much for the call, caller, and I hope you will call in again, Michael.
Okay, when the internet's good. So I can get the phone numbers and everything. Well, thank you for letting me call in.
Oh, it was our pleasure. Namaste, brother.
Yeah, bye.
And hello, caller, you're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
Hi.
Hi.
I wasn't expecting you to answer so soon. Sorry.
Oh,
Let
it's
me
okay.
mute.
No problem.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, and I was wondering if some of your listeners might answer. I had an experience that was out of this world. About a year ago, second time I tried meditating. I'm 64 years old, right? And I have been going through all of these symptoms that I'm seeing on YouTube and stuff through light workers. I'm going, oh my God, I've been that. I've already been through that. I've been through that. All these things have been happening to me. And one morning, it was the middle of the night, probably around 4 o'clock, I think is when I woke up. Something woke me up, but I didn't open my eyes. But I was awake, and I was laying in bed, and I didn't hear a voice, but it was a voice, and it said, "You are one of the 144,000, and what you will do will create sainthood, and you will not go to the new earth, but live in the house of the Lord forever." And then I saw this body come into mine, just like as if it was a spirit, same shape, but it just laid into mine. And I sat up, and I went, oh my God, what the heck was that? What just happened to me? I was just freaked out. And it took me, I called my girlfriend right away. Thank God she's so loving, and she's been my best friend for a few years now. She answered, and I told her, and, what could she say? But so I stayed awake, and I waited until 10 o'clock to tell my son, and they just more or less laughed at me, and it made me feel so bad because my own son wouldn't even believe what I just went through. It was so amazing. And then I'm going, okay, am I being messed with by the government? Did they plant that in my head? And then, so the more I think about this and everything I've been going through, and this is nothing like anything I've ever been through, ever. I've had a very long, beautiful life. I lost 3 husbands, the loves of my life, and I've never, ended up with a loved one. I'm single, and there's a reason for that, I believe. There's a reason that those people came into my life to help me grow and learn how to love, and all these things I've just been reflecting on since all this has been happening, and everything has a purpose and a reason. And I just wondered if anybody else ever got a download like that, and if they did, please put it up on the wall so I can see, because it's just something you can't just go and ask somebody, So I'm so glad you answered my call, and that's probably about it. I just have to find out if there's anyone else out there that has had an experience like this. Please put it up on the wall so I can read it.
Well, we'll see if anybody does or did. I've heard of a lot of different experiences, not exactly that one. But, we get messages. We do get messages if we're ready to listen. So I wouldn't doubt it.
It was just so unreal. It was like, it's hard to explain because it's like what they say a download is. You don't hear a voice, but you do.
and it's just crazy. It was just crazy. It just blew my mind, and it still does. This happened about a year ago, and still, I'll go on to some sites and light workers, but I never get an answer, and it's hard to get on when I'm on a live call like this. So I'm so glad I got through, and yeah. So I'm gonna look on the wall and see if anybody has had an experience like that. And I wonder if that was a walk-in or if that was my higher self coming into me. I have no idea.
It could be higher self-related. Yeah, it definitely could be.
Okay. And the second time I ever tried meditating, this happened about 2 years ago, I lay down on my bed, and oh my gosh, I saw this bright light, bright light, hit me right in the heart chakra, and the feeling of love was so powerful, I started crying like a baby. And so I think that was an activation. Totally. It had to have been, because I sat up and I just started crying so hard because the feeling of love, total love, just got me right in the gut, as if I was hit in the gut with something. It was just beautiful. And so I'm looking at that as an activation.
And that's exactly what everybody that I've ever talked to that's passed on and come back, it describes from the other side.
Yeah.
Exactly what they describe.
Yeah. These NDEs, it's like the feeling is so powerful that you just feel like a little baby and you start crying. You just feel so, like just letting everything go. It was beautiful. Beautiful.
Well,
So I just wanted to share that with you, and thank you for answering my call, Michael. And I love your channel. I listen to you every day.
well, you're welcome, and thank you for being part of the family. What was your name again?
Loretta.
Hi, Loretta. Well, I hope you will call back and share with us again and let us know what's happening.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.
And so that was wonderful that she felt comfortable enough to share it with all of us. And, I haven't heard of that exact same thing, but I have heard of basically spirit coming into you, for sure, and kind of experienced that myself. And, yeah, whether we look at it as like the higher self coming in, or you can look at it as anything you really want to. Ultimately, the big mystery and the big truth is that we are one. And as, Awakened was saying out there, we are one. Very true. And great call. Very positive and uplifting. And, it makes me think of the biblical phrase that in the last days, God's Spirit will be pouring out on us. And that's what we're finding and experiencing, and so many people are just completely awakening, and it's beautiful, totally beautiful. And think about it too. A diamond comes about because of stress, and we are certainly living in some stressful times when we look at everything that's going on around us. And so in many ways, perhaps that is what's going to bring about our crystalline self. And T. Taylor or Fifth World could talk about that at length, as can Peter, I'm sure. And many of you guys out there, Chris, Maya, Janelle, Deborah, Gordon, the thought is we're going from a carbon-based life form in this 3D reality to a crystalline structure. Because it will, for one, hold more light. And light is many things, including knowledge and information. Also love. As Todd says, light body activation. Yes. That is what it's all about. It's T. Taylor, crystalline equals love and compassion. That easy. As Hope says, look within and move forward. It's all very, very cool and exciting. And beautiful when you get down to it. So as we watch everything going on, see, I think that's one of the reasons why it's so easy to see through some of these politicians when people are already being activated. And we're talking about the light body, the crystalline structure, the DNA, going back to a 12-strand DNA, which I feel like we were there before, so we just are being reactivated. We're going to be able to look at these beings. We'll be able to look at any being and know the truth of them. And it's pretty obvious, It's just going to be so obvious, and for many of us out there already, it's pretty obvious, and it doesn't take a lot of effort to really see where their hearts are, and where they are on this ascension cycle, and who they truly are. And so it's amazing, like when you talk to some people who are fully on this path and are really awake and activated, you might even notice that it looks like their face is changing, their whole countenance is changing, they're glowing in some cases. In some cases, as you talk to people and they show their true self, it could be amazing. Have you noticed anybody like looking very different from when you first met them to after you started to talk to them? That it just seems like they look like a totally different person, especially when they are talking about those things that are truly, they're passionate about. Their whole look can completely change. And I think that's going to be really more of what we're going to be seeing as we go up. Some people believe we're already in the 4D reality, and maybe that's partly why the dream state doesn't feel like it's that far away from the waking state now. It feels like they're kind of blending. At least that's how I'm experiencing it. And I don't know if more of you guys are feeling that as well. And hello, caller, you're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
This is Tom in Colorado.
Hello, my dear brother. How are you, Tom?
I'm pretty good. I'm a little sick from associating with people, but I wanted to talk about what Loretta was talking about.
Sounds
and
great.
My experience is a little bit different, and I've told you on your show about my experience. But one thing that if Loretta can do is get back in there, and what you do, if you really want to get some emotions going between the levels, is realize that you are part of God and that you have something to give, and when you give it, it shall come back, and it's a real emotional thing. And I'd also like to tell her that's a cool thing that she went through, and just keep going there. And the realization that I came up with after going into the 4D a little bit is that was the biggest realization that I had. I was like in an awe of going in there and what was there. And what you got to realize is that you are also awe. It's not being. You have something to give because you're part of God, and you are also creative, and they want to also have something from you. And when you get that going, like a back and forth, it's really a cool thing.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. And so when you said that, I think about the movie, The Celestine Prophecy, which I know many people read the book, but the movie was a little low budget, but it still was the point of just showing to people the possibilities and where we're headed. And there was a great scene at a campfire where one of the heroes of it is basically sending loving energy to this little girl who was lost. And she was sending it back, and you're seeing the energy just increase, and both of their auras glowing brighter and brighter, their vibrations going up and up in love and understanding.
That's so cool. That's a good description of this. And, oh man, that's so great. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good description of the experience that I had. But when I was first doing it, you're in awe that you can do it. And so you're not really thinking, you're more at awe of the new experience that you're having. But then you kind of graduate and realize that you are part of it also. And yes, it does grow between the two, and it's very emotional.
Oh yeah.
And so you get drained just like you were either happy or you felt like great love or something. That is like the coolest part about the whole thing. So I just wanted to share that, and then at Thanksgiving, I tried telling my experience to a family member, and the different ways that people accept what happens to you or the story you're telling them. People answer differently, kind of, and it's kind of funny because you don't know who's going to accept what you're saying and who isn't.
Exactly. Yes.
And I was surprised who accepted what I gave, and so you don't know until you try. But I've kind of gone past that where I'm kind of open about it because I want other people to start getting there. I think if we get there, they'll help us. We're going to be like the team.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have the best team, by the way. So I just want to say that, and thanks for having me on, Michael.
Always a pleasure, Tom. Thank you for sharing. Much love, brother.
All right, bye.
And so great points as well. And some interesting conversations going on out there as a lot of people are talking about how many people at Thanksgiving were talking to unawakened family members and seeing, what type of results did you get? Because sometimes our physical family, might not always be the ones that jive so much, that blend with us so well spiritually. And that appears to be often the case, and those that have that, where the physical family is still the spiritual family as well, or a big part of it, that's a blessing. But sometimes I truly believe we come into families that are going to challenge us, really challenge us, and force us to grow, and I think that's part of the big picture. And so we're here to wake people up and to get them to grow and to see the light so that we can manifest a much better world than what we've had. And that's part of our destiny. Yeah, and as Ricky says, yes, making new families. And talking about wonderful family members, here is one of them.
Sassafras.
Sassafras, okay.
It's symbiotic soul family. Sassafras.
Okay, I like that.
Oh my gosh, Michael, what a great, powerful show tonight. Oh my gosh, it's really witnessed tonight with everybody. This family is growing. You just shine so bright, Michael, and we just have so much love for you, providing this place and this space, virtually just reaching across from your hometown to ours.
It's beautiful, Gordon, and I love you dearly, and so many of this family. You guys are more family than one could ask for, and it's just a beautiful blessing.
Oh my God, Michael, I'm about to burst out of my skin. I'm going to show you that I am not this body, Michael. I am not this male body. That's my ego. It's just my body. I'm leaving it here, or I'm changing it from within. I'm turning back into my original state, a star, an angel. I want my wings back.
You have your wings, brother. You do, and your light is shining bright, and it's shining brighter every day. And I'm dying to get out there to visit everybody that's over on the western side of the country. This last trip was really exhausting, but I am going to get out that way at some point next year for sure. And then we're going to have a big get together.
Yes, please. Oh my gosh, Melania escapade is on. It's superior angel work, Michael, and we're set to do it in the middle of a snowstorm the next 3 days.
That's exciting. It's really exciting. I wish I could be there.
Sorry, what was that?
I said I wish I could be there with you guys. I will be there in spirit, and perhaps I will do a prolonged meditation and see how much I could send my energy there.
Please, you guys, if you could gather and focus your intentions on Monument Valley, break through and shine so bright that it burns us all the way back to summer.
It's a beautiful thought, man. Beautiful thought.
Super love you guys. Super efficient, symbiotic soul fam. We'll be more like trees, Michael. This world we've been in for 6 years, and we're waking up by the hordes now. We're a veritable army of creating sovereign beings who have realized that this world is ours to create. It's ours, and we're doing it together.
Yeah, that is true. And we're doing it, and people are waking up in droves, and it's beautiful. I love seeing people wake up like this.
I feel like a 12-year-old kid, Michael.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are timeless and ageless when you get down to it.
I already feel you touching out here with your powerful light, brother. I already feel you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I just cannot tell you how much you guys mean to me there in chat. This world, call me. We really are. The Earth is alive. The Earth is alive. You know this. So too the moon. So too the sun. And so too every star. And it is our inherent right to embody vessels of clay or material. It's our inherent right as stars that live inside of us, our immortal beings, to inherit the vessels. And the angelic form was the most perfect, Michael. It was the most perfect and accepted among our immortal family.
And with when you said that too, it reminded me of 2 nights ago. I went out and I was just staring at the stars and thinking about how people see them differently and all, but things are changing, and so I was just looking up and kind of making a mental connection with one star, and then another star would all of a sudden twinkle. And so then I'd make a mental connection with that one, and then another one would twinkle. And it just made me giggle because I could see them recognizing, the energy. And so they are beings, and they really are alive. Everything is alive when you get down to it.
Oh, you bet, buddy. And when you said earlier, when she was talking about us being stars, and you're like, people in the chat room are going, did Gordon just hear that? It's been my 11/11 mission for so long right now, and it's boots on the ground. There's so much energy, and we're meeting so many people. We're gathering these fallen angels, and we're showing them back where they belong.
That's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, and so we need to have more of these get-togethers, and we need to, and I plan on having them for anybody in this area, anybody that wants to come to this area. Once we get past the holiday season, we're definitely going to have some get-togethers, and it's amazing. You can make lifelong friends from one get-together when you come together with people that are vibrating at your same energy level. It's just like meeting long-lost family, and you're not going to part again.
Dude, you were gonna get one of the biggest
angelic hugs of your life when I get to finally reach out and grab you.
I'm looking forward to it, brother. Much love.
Much love. Namaste.
Namaste, brother. I love that guy. I think we all do. And I know, who was it? Somebody was saying about Charleston. Lisa was talking. Lisa Henderson was asking if anybody's in Charleston. I love Charleston. It's probably my favorite city in the country, and definitely going to be heading down there at some point. And we'll start doing these get-togethers on a regular basis, and hopefully more will spread as well. And hello, caller, you're on the air. And who do we have with us now?
Hi. Hold on, I'm going to pause my computer. Okay. Hi, Sabrina.
Hi, Sabrina. How are you tonight?
I am very well. How are you?
Doing really well. Real good.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to actually kind of help people through the steps to get to where your former caller is at.
Okay.
And also, he's absolutely right about everything. And we are waking up in droves. We're starting to remember who we are. We need to do it with humility. Not be arrogant, but tremble. Because we have a lot of work ahead of us. Boots on the ground. And we're going to have to pay the price for a while. We made our bed. We need to stop being scaredy cats of the truth and stop squinting our eyes and cupping our hands over them and plugging our ears and because the monster that we invent in our imagination, because we're so amazing and so creative, we're divine. We are children of God. So we are little child gods. We build, we imagine, we invent, we architect, design, build, implement, drive, fly, bus, train, engineer, everything. We do it all. We build the houses. We build the cars. Everything. We do it. So the monster we can imagine is actually far worse than the reality. And I'd like you to use this example, the Wizard of Oz, and the little, frail, white-haired man behind the curtain. And it's kind of disappointing because you were hoping there was someone who was magic. And I'm not saying there isn't God, and I'm not saying there aren't angels helping us now, because we're divine. But we have to deny the flesh to be in touch with that part of it, because they're divine. And in order to get in touch with the divine is very simple. So simple. Of course it would be, wouldn't it? It's not complicated at all. The truth. The truth is the way. It's the truth. The whole truth. You know, I told my daughter, the beauty, the power of a woman delivering a baby, the truth of it, is very scary and so beautiful and powerful and potent. It's all the truth. And now I've been searching for the scripture. I can't find it, and I'm pretty well I'm pretty well read in the Bible. I had an excellent teacher, and an excellent mom too, who guided me well. I didn't grow up in religion, but I did grow up believing in God. But I recently, like in the past year, like a year ago, I feel like I read the scripture, but I was looking for something else, and anyway, but I can't be sure, and I can't find it again. But it's essentially in my memory, and I have looked for it so I can be accurate with retelling it, but my understanding of it is that when we walk in the truth, the ground our footfalls upon is hallowed.
That's a beautiful thought.
It is. And I believe it's true. I believe that's armor. And it's powerful. And the truth is coming for us all. And it is pissed. And I can't wait. And I'm not prepping. I'm not preparing. Why do so many people in Western religion believe that they're going to get another paradise when they haven't taken care of the paradise they already have? I love this place. And, the Hopis say this is the time to remember. So do the original people, the native original people of New Zealand. They also say this is the dream time. And the monarch butterfly, it takes multiple generations to accomplish a very long and arduous over land and sea migration. But their lifespan can only complete one leg of it. Yet, the information to complete the entire round-trip migration is within their DNA. So no matter what time they're born in that migration, they can complete that part of the leg of that journey. Science has termed 95% of man's DNA as junk. Like, we all know. Okay. I just hate how they use our language. I hate it. And 95% of man's brain, because we only use 5 to 7% of our brains. They don't know what the other part's for. They've only identified a very small amount of our DNA, but yet they know everything, and they're messing with it. And the rest is junk. So, I think now is the time to remember, like the Hopis say. And it's all there. It's in us. And you get really annoyed. Are you paying to give your DNA away so they can find ways to corrupt that part of it too? I don't know. Anyway. People are waking up in droves, and I think we need to cut our losses and take our planet back. Because I kind of feel like I live in the alternate reality of Avatar. And that we are what would have happened if the Pandorans hadn't booted the greedy, militarized corporations off their planet, is Devil's Tower our Iowa? The big tree from that movie? I know, I use movies. Anyway, that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing, Sabrina. Very powerful statements, very true. And I hope you'll give a call in again and share more with us in the future.
Yes. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome. Namaste,
Be well.
sister. You too.
Okay, bye.
And yeah, you know, how do we take back our planet in a peaceful way? And hello there, is this Kevin?
Hey, Michael, it's KJ, New York City.
How you doing, KJ? Good to see you. Or at least good to talk to you.
I'm doing good, brother. I've been super busy here in New York, so I haven't really had a chance to call in a while, but, you know, I would like to touch base and see how things are going with you and the family.
So is it cold and snowy up there, too?
It's funny you say that. It's definitely cold, and we did have a little bit of flurry action this evening. You know, I've been telling people, you know, as much as I possibly can without, you know, becoming like just a crazy person. But this cold front is happening. It's already forming. It has not let up. The weather we're experiencing here is typical of late December, early January in November. And, unless we have some freak warm-up period, if it continues in this pattern, we're going to have some serious issues that we're going to have to deal with if there's an extended period of cold up here.
Oh, I think it's coming. I have no doubt. And as I was saying, it's just kind of surprising because I feel like it's catching some of the forecasters by surprise, because like tonight was not supposed to be this cold, and you know, I see the notifications come through. We have two warnings, and one of them is wind chill 5 to 10 below, and it's like, what? You know, because that's unusual for here.
Oh yeah, and what I've been noticing is, you know, as much as it pains the mass media to do anything other than what the status quo, paid scientists, government officials, et cetera, that have been continuing to beat the drum of global warming, they're finally starting to try to, work an angle on it. So what they're doing now is they're starting these shows, especially in New York, on one of the local channels. They did a whole series called Extreme Weather and what's happening and why this is happening. So it pains them to discuss the matter in real truthful terms. So they're kind of trying to spoon feed in a way that they don't come out and look like, complete idiots, that it's no longer a warming issue and that it got more complex than that. And, because the last thing they want to do is, I guess, just confuse people more so than what they already are. I don't know, but they're definitely trying to explain it away or make light of it. And this is not something, I'll give you an example. Last January 2nd, we had a really bad polar vortex cold front that had come down through Canada. And it affected restaurants, commercial spaces, buildings. I had multiple clients and multiple people who had pipes freeze up. This was last January 2nd. So it was about a 3-day period where it just got brutal. It was close to -20 up here. And this extended all the way from northeastern Canada all the way down as far as Philadelphia. And there were just countless numbers of pipes that had burst and issues. Because you know what happens, water's in a pipe, it freezes, it expands, and it just completely obliterates anything that is holding that type of material. If we have another event like that, say it lasts a week, who knows, say it lasts a month, those type of cold temperatures, our infrastructure is incapable of handling it, and the destruction that would occur from, these massive pipes and tunnels and conduits filled with water and then freezing, it's going to get really bad if that's the case. So that's something people really need to kind of be aware of as we get into this type of cooling period. I'm hopeful that it's kind of a fluke, but it seems like, up here, we've been averaging literally since the beginning of November, minimum 10 degrees below every day, and I would say on average at least 15 to 20 degrees below our normal temperature. That's serious. That is far from normal. So, it's pretty cold and windy, and it doesn't seem, and we get a lot of rain, which eventually will turn to snow if we keep this precipitation levels going. So we're just going to have to see. But I know the cold is dipping down south, and I know it's dipping down where you are, and I got friends in Alabama that are like, what the hell's going on? And those are the areas that are really vulnerable because they're just not built for extreme periods of cold weather. So, people need to be very cognizant of that and aware of how the cold can do a lot of damage to just your pipes in your house, and you need to be aware of that and make sure that, in the event that it gets to a point where it's really cold, you have to be really cognizant of that, and make sure it doesn't affect you.
Most definitely, and it's going to be dangerously cold in some places, and I just had earlier one of the viewers say that he was warning his family, who's like way up in Montana, it's time to move because think about how cold it's really going to get if you're up, say, in the Dakotas or Montana, or look at Canada. It's going to be brutal. Now, interestingly enough, Alaska seems to do well in these time periods. It just, everything comes deep down in those Arctic blasts, those polar vortexes. So, and then when the Gulf Stream basically shuts down, then the Northeast is going to be freezing. Same thing with Europe.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, Europe, the Northeast, and see, here's the bigger problem. The bigger problem is, it's throughout history people have populated, the Northeast and certain sections, but like I said, like down to the middle part of the East Coast and even in the South, it's just not set up for cold weather. It's just not.
Oh yeah.
and if that's those are very populated areas now, so that type of situation could be really bad. The vortex system that's setting up, pretty much the midpoint of Canada and just dropping. I mean, it's funny. I follow this one channel on YouTube. He's just a guy by himself out in the middle of Canada. He's building a cabin. He's got this cute golden retriever. I don't know his channel, but I always watch him, and he's way up there in Canada. And right now he's been trying to build this sauna, and there's been nothing but feet of snow all around him. And he's like, this isn't normal. He's like, we're in some deep stuff up here. So I mean, Canada is just getting blanketed with endless snow. And I said this to people. I said, if this continues, there's going to be parts of Canada that people are going to have to seriously contemplate moving south from. And eventually that will affect our, northern hemisphere, and obviously just right across with Europe. But the signs already, I'm pretty amazed that, and I thought this year would be the tipping point this year into next. And the amount of snow already across, I mean, literally from the west to the east in Canada is just insane. So they're in big trouble. They're definitely, I mean, I know they're used to it, but when it gets to a certain point and it becomes really unbearable, it's going to be very problematic, just because there's so many more millions of people inhabiting places that 100 years ago nobody lived, 200 years, you know. So now you got people that, you know, are living in these remote, quote-unquote, areas as compared to years ago, and there's no way you'll be able to survive in that environment if you're kind of going into a snowpack, mini ice age type condition, where the snow just doesn't go away, it just never melts, it just becomes compiled and compacted, and people don't realize that's how these, you know, glaciers form. They form actually quite quickly.
They do.
It doesn't take much. Yeah, people don't, you know, if you watch, like, glaciers, I've watched a lot of things about, you know, glaciers, and to see, you know, they're always talking about how they melt. Well, there's footage of how they form, and these things can form real fast. So, you know, and you know, listen, heat you can deal with a lot better. Cold, I don't care what you are, unless you're a seal or an otter or a walrus, you're not going to deal with cold well. So, and eventually the cold will get you. You know, you can only burn so many trees around you. There's only so much wood to burn. It's just, you know, but the cold is going to be really, really tough for people. So just people need to be really aware of what's going on with this weather. And just, you know, stay safe. I appreciate you taking my call, brother.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, brother. You too. Stay warm up there.
I do my best. Take care.
Take care, KJ. So that's KJ from New York. And, yeah, it's true. I mean, it's going to be brutally cold. It's coming. We know it. It's pretty much here. So I want to thank everybody once again for joining us on this live chat. And, you know, we look forward to doing it all again soon. I want everybody to stay safe out there, guys. Stay safe, stay aware, and stay positive as well. Because ultimately, you know, this is just us having a 3D experience, you know, and truly we are all eternal. We're all consciousness and love and light, and that's what we're here to spread. So thank you everybody so much. Much love to everybody out there in this beautiful family. God bless, my friends. Namaste.